Hi there. First, I would like to give my thanks to everyone who's watching right now and to the people of the 22nd Ward, 26th Division, whom I've had the distinct honor of representing over the last 4 years in both the Republican Party and outside of it. I've been a Republican for a majority of my life, in large part because in Philadelphia, if you want to change the political landscape, you need to be a Republican in a city of Democrats. When I won my election as a Republican committee person in 2014, I saw it as a chance to make the party the most viable it had been since 2003 and make the Philly GOP the strong, loyal opposition that we need. Along the way, I saw firsthand why the Republican Party has fallen just short of that in Philadelphia and the problems that have led us down this path. The Republican Party's history finds its origin as a rejection of the mainstream of its time. In the mid-1980s, we were founded by proud liberals who wanted to abolish slavery, and within 4 years' time, we nominated Abraham Lincoln for president. For over a century, we brought about liberal and progressive ideals, such as civil rights for all and protecting workers' rights, with the likes of the presidents of Ulysses S. Grant, Teddy Roosevelt, and Dwight Eisenhower. These leaders saw a nation that needed strong and moral leadership, and thanks to them, we not only saved the Union, but made it better for everyone. Yet, in the last 50 years, with the sort of the Southern strategy under Nixon, and before that, the failed election of Barry Goldwater, that this fair party began to be subjugated by the Southern Dixiecrats and the more religious conservative movements of the 1980s. The party has since careened into a whirlwind of pushing moral laws based on religious ideas, libertarianism, and Reaganian-style capitalism, and dismissing its long history as a party that fought for everyone by pushing an extremely narrow ideal of what the nation should be. The nationalistic far-right and racist alt-right took over, and more being a Republican became synonymous with being a racist, intolerant, xenophobic, and bigoted person. This culminated in 2016 when our party endorsed a man who wants a Muslim ban and considers the majority of Mexicans rapists and criminals. A man who had the fever support of the Ku Klux Klan, and David Duke, a man who promoted the conspiracy theory that President Obama wasn't even an American. That same year saw multiple assaults on voter rights with the attempt to oppose modern-day literacy tests by imposing voter ID laws, and multiple bills trying to ban transgender people from the bathroom of their choice. The same party that had been founded on civil rights and abolishing slavery was endorsing that man and those ideals. Yet, within him, they saw a wrecking ball to use against the establishment. This man was the living, breathing embodiment of the very worst tendencies that the GOP had fostered and cultivated over the years. My party, the same party that had given rise to a president who had fought in the war to save the Union, was touting a man who seemed intent on destroying it. When Donald Trump won, I could not stay silent. I wrote an open letter to the Philadelphia Republican Party in response to both Trump's election and the rise in local hate crimes, and I was soundly dismissed by the party. When others spoke out, they were decried and told that it was not up to the local party to respond to these disgusting acts. And before I wrote that letter, I spoke to people about my disgust of what had happened and my intent to leave the party. A good friend of mine said, "Larry, you can't leave. You're needed now more than ever. You have to be the voice of reason within your party." They were right, and with that I decided to stay in the party and continue the fight. Today I must announce that my battle has ended. Effective Thursday, I will no longer be a part of the Republican Party. Despite this, I want to make it clear that while I am leaving, I do not plan on giving up my fight to save this party and make it a viable force in Philadelphia politics. And it is in that spirit that I give my remarks today. The Republican Party in Philadelphia has seen a rapidly shrinking base in the last 20 years. Now, it's not because of Democratic corruption or loose values, but it comes down to three core reasons. One, we have refused to change with the times. Two, we have seen our older base die off. And number three, and most importantly, we have not attracted younger people to the party. Now, the sad truth is that a bulk of the Republican base are older people. This is especially true in black neighborhoods where they serve as a reminder of a time when the Republican Party stood up and fought for the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act. Policies that the majority of Republicans supported and had spent the last 100 years fighting for, and principles that the party was founded upon. Starting in the late 1960s, this began to change to a myriad of factors, most notably because of Nixon's Southern strategy. That caused a great political migration when racist Southern Democrats fled their party and, well, they just became Republicans. This became a sin that we as a party have never sought to rectify. Now, as we see those older Republicans die off, you would be hard set to find many Philadelphians born after 1980 wanting to take up that heritage and join the GOP. And why would they? The national appeal of the party just isn't there. They see a party that opposes healthcare being a right, that supports banning transgender people from being in the military or even using the bathroom of their choice, thus denying them even the most basic of dignities, exposing them to, well, potential violence. They see a party that will defend gun rights over children, and a party that constantly demands tax cuts for top 1%, while saying that their friends in retail and fast food don't deserve a living wage. The local party is not making the case any easier. They've gone from prominently supporting LGBTQ plus rights to promoting traditional marriage. On a state level, the Pennsylvania GOP has refused to denounce Representative Metcalf for his homophobic comments or for inviting an actual white supremacist to the General Assembly in Harrisburg. The Philly GOP has attacked Larry Krasner for proposing safe injection sites, which is a policy that their own candidate for DA support as well. They opposed a policy that means reducing the cost to taxpayers for locking people up for prolonged periods of time. Yet they go on about bloated government, and I believe this is a party that's in favor of fiscal conservatism. The focus on the politics of fear, hatred, and division have created a cesspool along the Delaware River. The Philadelphia Republican Party must lead the way and show that focusing on the politics of division is a losing strategy, and that by focusing on a message of working together and representing the values of those you wish to elect and represent wins elections. Now, staying the course will only lead to defeat. As we saw in the most recent special election in Western Pennsylvania, a district that was reliably Republican for decades, it went for a Democrat. Now, this was not due to illegal votes, nor was it because the Republicans simply ran a weak candidate. Instead, it is because the Democrats realized that they needed a candidate that reflected the values of the people they wished to represent. This strategy, as we have seen, wins elections. The Philly GOP has refused to morph into the more inclusive party that they need to be in order to not only win elections, but to survive as a party. The Grand Old Party, the Big Tent Party, is destined to go the way of the Whigs, Big Soil, and the know-nothing parties of old if they do not learn the most important of lessons: adapt or die. One of the biggest problems in the Philadelphia political climate that we must address is our ward system. We must reform the current ward system and begin to create standards and modernize our antiquated system. How many ward leaders sent out emails to alert their committee members of ward meetings and events? How many utilize social media to talk about upcoming elections, meetings, and increase community involvement? The responsibilities and duties of a Republican committee person are not spelled out or outlined anywhere, thus making it largely a title only. Now, we need wards that meet a 21st century standard. By creating social media profiles for all of our wards, we create a digital footprint that allows us to reach our constituents better and allows them to be more involved. In turn, ward leaders and committee people will have more influence as they are seen as being part of a community instead of someone you see only when they really want a favor, like a vote or to sell you on a candidate. And finally, in regards to wards, we must act to end nepotism. There are countless wards across Philadelphia where immediate family members make up the appointed roles of those in the executive committee for a ward, from treasurer and onwards. Now, I am calling for a formal rule that bans this practice when other members of the executive committee are available to help ensure that they are not breeding grounds for corruption and becoming a family business. Open primaries. It's something else I'd like to discuss real quick. Open primaries would greatly benefit the Philadelphia Republican Party. No longer would the Philly GOP be beholden to a few key stakeholders in the party. Instead, they will be able to field more candidates in its primaries. Because the party is so concerned about having their own endorsed candidates on the ballot for a primary, due to having such a small voter pool in order to get the signatures that they need to get on the ballot, I've seen those who've spoken out against the party bullied and pushed off the ballot in what far too many would call business as usual. Open primaries mean more people across the spectrum would vote in primaries and ensure that they do not act as a de facto general election. It would foster faster reforms and allow the party to be more inclusive. But more than anything else, I am calling for more honesty in our party. I have met many people, party loyalists, ward leaders, and citizens alike, who have told me of their more liberal and progressive leanings. These people are afraid to come out openly about their viewpoints in the party, in large part out of fear of retaliation or losing status in the party. Now, we need to be honest about our values and not play to the politics of hatred and division. I have seen people run on a campaign of demagoguery and authoritarianism when they're actually moderates, conservatives, or even liberals who feel the need to appeal to the most far right of our limited base. Yet, it is the exact same tactic that will cost them the general election in the fall. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying that I'm not saying the Philadelphia Republican Party needs to give up all or even most of its values. In fact, many of the values of the Republican Party echoes those of the Democrats and liberals. For example, it has been made very clear that no one likes the practice of abortion, yet we divide ourselves into camps on this issue. If conservatives seek to reduce the number of abortions, they should take on the position of increasing access to birth control and favor the free market being allowed to sell female contraceptives without a prescription. They should favor taxpayer funds being used for family planning services and for greater access to these services. They should favor federal paid parental leave to allow families to actually grow without being seen as a burden. These positions reduce the number of abortions, yet still protect that constitutional right to have one. Now, when it comes to guns, the Republicans and Democrats largely believe in protecting the Second Amendment in a more modern interpretation that allows for personal gun ownership. And that is a more modern viewpoint. Now, if the Philly GOP took the position that there should be requirements in place such as, say, permit to purchase, which allows people to still buy a gun, but that they need to go to their local police station in order to get a permit to purchase, we can greatly reduce the number of illegal guns on our streets by snuffing out a number of straw purchases with no impediment to a legal gun owner. By promoting laws that require a lost or stolen gun to be reported in 48 hours, we make sure gun owners are responsible and reduce illegal guns. By closing the private sales loophole, we ensure that legal gun owners are protected when they sell a weapon. Raising the minimum wage reduces the number of people on public assistance, since that means they can afford a decent standard of living. Legalizing marijuana frees up prison cells for dangerous criminals that help keeps them off the streets. Reducing the prison population means less skilled criminals and less recidivism, and of course, less funds for taxpayers going to other things that we could use. Enabling LGBT, making sure LGBT people can't be fired means more people in the workplace, and allowing trans people to serve in the military means we have another person willing to fight for our nation. The Republican Party can adhere to its values by adapting its ideas to the city of Philadelphia of today. With more independents and third-party registrations in Philadelphia than those in the Republican Party, the Philly GOP must stop demonizing the Democrats and instead be more proactive in working with them. Calling those in the opposition party silly nicknames and calling them monsters or the politics of fear and division that have destroyed this party from the inside out. By welcoming bipartisanship, the Philadelphia Republican Party will attract more voters and show Philadelphia that there are, in fact, two paths towards the future. Yet, as I say all this, many may be wondering why I was not a Democrat these last few years, or if I'm going to join them next. Well, it is true I have many viewpoints similar to them. Democrats in Philadelphia has been rife with corruption for longer than I've been alive. Machine politics have taken the heart out of much of the party, and it's worked to keep out the younger, more passionate, reform-minded individuals from taking the reins. For too long, I have seen one Democratic lawmaker after another forced out of office and then let out of handcuffs. Many that were elected as reformers wound up being more mired in corruption than those before them, and today I am forced to question when the next Democrat who spoke of reform will be led away the same way. Now, I say that not because I believe the Democratic Party of Philadelphia is bad, no more than I speak of the ills of the Republican Party of Philadelphia today. No, I want to make sure that everyone works right. And once I was asked why Philadelphia is so corrupt, to which I say the oil that greases the wheels of the Philadelphia political machine is apathy. Ask anyone in Philadelphia how they feel about their local politician, and you're sure to hear that they either don't care, don't do anything, or are horribly corrupt. The Democratic Party, with over 80% of the city registered under this label, is a beast far too large to manage, and the lack of competition in the marketplace of ideas has gone unchecked. Most importantly, more than anything else, I firmly believe in the need of a two-party system in a loyal opposition. Without a challenge, people begin to stagnate and stop innovating. They begin to see anyone who disagrees with them as hostile by default. We must return to the days of being able to disagree without being disagreeable and of ensuring a balance within our political system. If the Philadelphia Republican Party is to succeed as a party locally, it must adapt and change. It must reflect the values not only of itself but of the people it wishes to govern. It must learn to make better arguments. It must appeal to people outside of its base. It must compete in the marketplace of ideas. The party often has the right points, such as opposing the sugary drink tax and trying to tackle political corruption, yet it falls short with messaging. By appealing to the politics of fear, hatred, and division, the Philly GOP is sending out the wrong message and losing the war. As I take my leave, I look at those in the Philadelphia Republican Party with hope. I leave now because while I know my time with this long-established institution is over, I do so with much sorrow in my heart, as I know I will not be with you when it's corrected. I have seen many within this party demand true and everlasting change, and to you I ask that you stand up and fight for your party. Apathy is the oil that greases the wheels of the Philadelphia political machine. And that apathy is what will destroy this party as well. You must embiggen this party and see it reach its true potential. Embrace the future. Embrace your constituents. And bring this party back to the days of great men such as Dwight Eisenhower, Sam Katz, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. This has been, and always must be, a party that values integrity and the rights of all. It was founded on liberal ideals, and I dare say it can become one that pushes for progressive ideals once again, and not a party that promotes authoritarian and even fascist ideologies and fear and hatred, wielded like a fascist to push those not like us aside. I resign my position as the Republican committee person of the 22nd Ward, 26th Division, effective this upcoming April, this upcoming Thursday. And it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve. Thank you very much. Thank you.